Hello everyone, welcome to 12 AM Coding. So today we will be learning about actuator in Spring Boot. So actuator is a very important dependency in Spring Boot and it allows us to provide the information for Spring Boot application and provide the metrics for the Spring Boot application. So today we will be learning how we can implement this actuator in a Spring Boot application and we will be seeing multiple endpoints of it. Okay. So first of all, what you need to do to add actuator in your Spring Boot, we need to add a dependency which is Spring Boot actuator. So I'm going to add one dependency which is coming from org Spring Framework Boot, then Spring Boot Starter Actuator. So automatically this dependency will be injected in your project. So I'm just building the Gradle again after adding this. Okay. So now simply currently if you go to our application.yml, then it is having nothing, it is having server.port. We only added this actuator here. Okay, so I'm running my Spring Boot application, so multiple endpoints got exposed into my Spring Boot application now. So if I go to browser and write like 8090 my application is running, then there is one endpoint which is actuator health. Okay, so this actuator health is showing the health of our application, if it is up or like down or whatever condition of the application, or some database connection is there, right? So you can implement the actuator for that one, like database is up or down or whatever is going on with the database. Okay, so this is the very basic endpoint and this is very important. Like lot of time when you will be working on the industry level applications and also we need this actuator health and everything. Okay, and some matrices. So first of all, let me go to the Spring Boot official documentation of actuator endpoints, and we are having multiple endpoints here like beans, cache, conditions, env, health, exchange, info, and multiple. These are all the URLs actually. Okay, so one interesting thing is by default the health endpoint is only enabled in the actuator. If you want to enable the other endpoints, then you need to expose them into your application. So how you can do that? We will be seeing that. So I'll be adding one property, this one, okay, and then I'll be explaining. So this is management endpoint web exposure then include. So we need to expose these particular endpoints info and beans. So today we'll be looking into this info and beans endpoint also, because by default without adding it, if I hit this particular beans endpoint, then this will not be working actually. It is saying like something went wrong because this is some custom page I have created before some days. So this is showing this error. Okay, and if you go to inspector, then it will be showing the 404 not found. So if you will hit this bean, then it is showing 404 not found, this particular URL not found. So what we need to do to expose these endpoints, we need to put this property. Okay, management endpoint web exposure include, and info and beans I am putting right now because we'll be reading about these two today. So if I restart my application and then I'll be going to this beans endpoint now, and if I'll be hitting, then it is giving me all the beans actually. So it is telling what are all the Spring beans are present into our application context. Okay, so like endpoint auto configuration, multiple beans are there. So I'll be showing you one example. For example, currently I'll be creating one class, let's say fruit class, or let me name it as fruit only, and in this I'll be adding it as a component, because after adding the component, as we all know, it will be registered into the application context. Okay, and I'll be just creating one simple function void and fruit, and this one will be just writing something. Okay, like it doesn't mean any sense, like we just want to um, test this beans endpoint. I am just creating a bean of this fruit, no sophisticated something. So if I now refresh this beans, then in this, if you see, our fruit bean will also be present. If you see, our fruit bean is there. So all the information is there, like singleton, it is a type of this particular type. Then all the from where it is coming. If some dependencies are there, then it will be defining into this. So this is a very important endpoint when we will be working on real-time application. Then definitely, let's say this server endpoint discovery. So discoverer. So this is dependent upon these two beans. So let's say this class is having one more class dependency, then definitely it will be showing in the dependency section. So this is about entire application beans. So if you want to see in the application context what beans are available about your Spring Boot application, then this particular actuator beans is a very useful and very important URL. Okay, so this is about beans endpoint. So we can go in detail, but right now I'm just covering the basic stuff so that we can develop the understanding. And whenever you will be working, so you can explore this beans. Like in my case also, I used this beans once, and like I was stuck in something, and then I was not aware which beans are available or something is happening into my application. So I've used this one, and it is very useful. Now second is info actually. So if I hit this info endpoint for the actuator, then it is showing currently empty because we are not having any information. So for that we need something like, we need to enable this info first. Okay, so in our management only we need to provide info env enable true, and to provide some information about your application or some things, you can add this detail actually. So as I told, there are multiple endpoints and there are multiple functionalities. Okay, so currently we are just seeing, so to enable the info we just need the property with the info, and whatever properties will be there under this info, it will be visible into this particular URL. And we need to enable this info env enabled also, like this is not by default enabled, so you need to put this particular property in order to use the info endpoint, okay, into the actuator. So now if I hit this info, then definitely it will be showing my app, then name is fruit app, then description, then version. So whatever information you need, you can put it here. So yes guys, that's it for this particular tutorial. And if you like this particular video, then press the like button, share with your friends, and please subscribe the channel for these kind of interesting videos. So yes guys, thank you and see you in the next tutorial.